Hey guys, it's Andrew, and I'm here again with Andy.
Hello.
So, yeah, today I wanted to explore the question of what did you learn from university? So, actually, I've been asking this question in the past, and with exam season ending with UBC and several other universities, I started to reflect on this question again. So, today, let's explore our three greatest lessons from our university experience. So, Andy, you're also coming to an end of your degree, and then for me, it I'm graduating this year. So, one of the first questions is, yeah, how was your experience at university like? What have you learned, either through school, internships, and yeah, we could start from there.
Yeah, so I think two things right off the bat is how to Google things and also how to, I guess, like meet people. And the first one kind of seems really obvious, but it really comes in handy, especially in real life when you're faced with something that you're unfamiliar with. It's like, okay, how do you navigate the situation? How do you obtain the knowledge you need in order for you to feel comfortable enough to navigate the situation yourself? And there's a lot of information out there. So the ability to find that using the proper websites, the proper platforms from proper people that you trust from Google or YouTube or, like I said, other platforms, that's a skill that is really essential for life. And I think a lot of times in school, we almost take this for granted because
Mhm.
sometimes we, like when we don't understand something or when we're faced with a problem that we don't really know how to solve, like sometimes you like kind of just put it in Google and see what happens. And a lot of these skills we kind of accumulate over time, but I didn't really notice it until I started using it a lot more in real life. And also when I was talking to people that didn't seem to have the same like level of Googling. Like sometimes you'll want to find something, you'll Google it, and then you won't get what you want. And someone might be able to Google it and then actually find what you want. So like that
Mhm.
skill is really important. And also, yeah, meeting people. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. It's a lot easier to meet people at universities than it is outside because you're not given the opportunity to meet people in such like a populated dense environment when you're done
Mhm.
university.
Right. I wanted to touch on your first point, which is um, about researching and finding the right information on Google.
Hmm.
It touches upon the topic of information overload and also credibility of the sources. So I've found that, yeah, in this digital age, we have so much information, and sometimes, yeah, we just get lost in that. Have you been able to, like, do you see this problem as well, and how have you worked through it?
Yeah, so I definitely see this problem as well. Most of it is just through time, I would say. As you use Google more and more, you'll understand kind of what is more trustworthy and what is not. Some questions are better suited for Reddit or certain subreddits. And sometimes you'll just start with asking a question on YouTube and you'll find a bunch of YouTube videos, but you might ask questions in the same area and you might see the same YouTubers again. So based on that, you can kind of narrow down what YouTubers you can trust more based off of the quality of content, what they're saying, what they're about, etc. And through time and experience, you'll just figure out where to look essentially for your questions. So yeah, that's how I kind of counter information overload.
Mhm. And drawing from your experiences in the past few years, do you have any plans to move ahead? Like, for example, what skills are you trying to develop? What are your aspirations for this last year?
Yeah, so yeah, for context, yeah, I'm on co-op right now and I have 1 year left of university. I don't really have like a set out plan, but I definitely would say that kind of getting to know a lot of people is near the top or on my list of things to do for last year, because I feel like as you go throughout university, you learn more about what you want to do and what you don't want to do. And what you want to do might not particularly pertain exactly to the things that you learn about in your degree. So meeting people outside of your degree in order to, see what they're all about and get a sense of the different fields out there is pretty important. Um, so yeah, that's something I'm probably gonna do in the near future. But yeah, nothing set in stone yet. Haven't thought that far ahead yet.
Yeah. And yeah, with that, yeah, I just wanted to share some of my experiences too. Similar to yours, like how you were exploring outside of your faculty to meet different kinds of people. Yeah, I have done the same and found it really helpful and eye-opening in terms of learning new topics, learning what's um, going on in the world, not just from my own engineering bubble or even university bubble, but expanding to um, different people in society who have different backgrounds, um, and drawing conclusions from that, and then understanding, hey, actually, I'm interested in this topic. Let's explore that deeper and maybe meet some people in that field. So, yeah, those experiences were helpful.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so I wanted to discuss 3 tips today. So personally, for me, I found that during these university years, the first topic is learning how to learn. So like similar to your Googling tip, it's like thinking critically about topics, analyzing problems and researching information, and communicating our findings, either written or verbally. And yeah, have you found that you've like learned better through university compared to high school, or like what are the changes in your style of learning over the years?
Yeah. I would definitely say that, yeah, I learned better in university just because there was a lot more emphasis and slash pressure placed on like getting the marks and getting grades. So naturally, when that's the case, you can imagine that there's a lot more pressure on you to figure out what works for you in terms of learning. But I think on a higher level, the way you obtain information changes as you're introduced to more ways of obtaining that information. And yeah, university, Googling and the internet was an extensive use of how you could obtain information. Whereas in high school, a lot of it was just from the professors. Like, as long as you kind of knew the material in class, you could get by. There was nothing really external beyond that. So yeah, I would definitely say that my learning changed.
So second tip is building relationships with people. So that was very similar to you. You came um, off the fly with it, but yeah, this was one I prepared. And yeah, I really think that I learned how to develop relationships throughout university because yeah, you just meet so many people, like thousands of people on campus, and
Yeah.
um, sometimes you just see people at classes, but don't know how to reconnect with them. Or so yeah, sometimes you do have to develop those skills to build those relationships because it's really easy to pass by each other on campus, especially because sometimes you have different schedules or different commitments. So you have to be actually intentional about building these relationships and building these friendships deeper. Yeah.
In addition to that, I'd also say to don't be afraid to make mistakes. And that also includes, like the awkward exchange, the awkward greeting, like dealing with awkward silences. I know everyone kind of goes through that at the start. It's normal, and you kind of just learn through it with time. So yeah, definitely don't beat yourself up over small incidences like that. Just take it as a learning experience and keep on going with it.
Mhm. Yeah, that leads to another point, which is like breaking out of your comfort zone uh,
Yeah.
to meet new people because yeah, you don't know who you'll meet. And like similar to our videos in the past, like you never know, right? um,
Yes.
so yeah, actually take that step to get to know somebody. They might be from a whole different city or country even, and your backgrounds are different, so you can always draw some different perspectives from that. Mhm. And then our third tip for today is learning doesn't have to be limited to the classroom. So that also touches on the your first point, which is like Googling. So like not everything will be inside the classes, and
Mhm.
you're expected to actually research more and collect information. So do you have any thoughts about that?
I think a good point in addition to that, and I guess this will kind of be my third piece of advice is try new things. There's a lot of opportunities outside the classroom at universities. There are clubs, there are student teams, there are also sororities and fraternities if that's your thing. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. And with regard to learning outside the classroom, you like that also I think that also applies to applying what you learned as well. Because labs are great and everything like that labs also provide an opportunity for you to apply what you learned in class. But if you were to say join a student team, let's say you were in mechanical engineering and like you join UBC Solar or UBC Super Mileage, both which build cars for their year-end competitions, that's applying the knowledge that you learned in your classes to actual real world applications. And if you signed up for the student teams because you were passionate about cars and how they work, then like that's almost the perfect combo because you're learning what you like, you're applying what you like, and you're doing what you like doing. So yeah, kind of just try things. It's not always going to be that perfect. You're not always going to get those three things all at once, but one of the fastest ways to figure out how to get those three things is just to try things out. If you think you might be interested in it, go for it.
On top of that, like I think it goes under the umbrella of extracurricular activities.
Mm-hmm.
um, it's not just for your resume. Of course, like it'll look good on your resume, but it's also for yourself too. It's to uh, develop your thinking, develop your like interests and passions. I know Andy and I, we went to some hackathons together, and
Mm-hmm.
those were really uh, fun events, but also like where we got to practice our skills and think outside of the box and actually apply what we've learned in our courses or on our own time. I also found conferences helpful. So like especially when if you're in like business, that you should try going to these conferences because that's a opportunity to meet new students and opportunity to meet professionals who would likely be at those conferences too. Mhm. On that topic, learning doesn't have to stop even when university stops.
Yeah.
So, Andy, you're on your co-op, and I'm just wondering how you're continuing to learn and like what you are learning during this time.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that kind of pique my interest. I've kind of learned stuff about my car. Like I'm doing software engineering slash developing stuff as a part of my co-op. So that kind of gives you a contrast as to like, oh, like you like work on your car, but isn't that like mechanical engineering stuff? So it's just like finding things that kind of interest you and going for it. Like it's just one day I decided, oh, I wonder how a car works, and just watched a couple of YouTube videos, and that kind of led to me wanting to try to change my own oil. So it's stuff like that that captures my interest, and so I kind of just roll with it. I would also encourage people to kind of do the same. A lot of people have hobbies outside of school, and a lot of those hobbies can be, either newfound or from the past, maybe even from high school. So I would just say, continue with it. A lot of people find playing instruments fun, especially during times like this. So learning is a really broad term, and it doesn't have to be directly based with your career or your degree. But yeah, if you're always learning, if you're always doing something, then chances are you're learning, because if you're doing something and you're not learning, then you're just stagnating, and eventually you'd probably find that boring. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and one thing to add on that is you're learning to meet your needs, and you might also have another opportunity to learn to meet others' needs. For example, like you're fixing your car to meet your own needs, right?
Yes.
And that's a really good motivation to like take something new on.
Yeah.
Another example of learning to meet other people's needs is one of my friends' projects. It's called COVID Impact.
hmm
So they help businesses and self-employed people understand what resources the government is giving them at this time.
Yeah.
So that's learning to help other people's needs. Doesn't have to be for financial gain or anything. It could just be out of interest and passion. Yeah. So that's another way to fuel your learning. And yeah, it is important to keep learning because yeah, the world's changing a lot, and it's important to keep up to date with the world.
100%. 100%.
Any final words for tips to share with a university student?
Yeah. Um, I think, at least for me, when I was in university, I really took the whole situation for granted. If you're a university student right now and you haven't had a co-op term, then I feel like you haven't seen what it's like to leave that environment. For me, I kind of got comfortable, in that environment, and then when I left, it hit me pretty quick that a lot of things that I took for granted are now gone. So, for example, all the people that you can constantly interact with and meet with, friends, are no longer nearby, depending on where your co-op is. And also, you don't really have common activities slash events to in order for you to go to meet people. So when you're outside of that environment, you kind of have to create those opportunities for you. You kind of have to put in the work to figure out what is out there, what groups are there out there. Is there a hiking group, for example? Oh, I want to go snowboarding, but I'm no longer in university. Okay, um, who's kind of in my area that I can that I can hit up in order to start a group? It's all these things where you kind of have to put in the work yourself in order to stay connected to people. And when you don't have something like a class or a club or a project that you're working on with other people, then it's almost up to you to take the first step or to take the initiative in order to set up meetings or hangouts with people. So yeah, I would overall I would say try not to take this situation for granted, because university life is a pretty unique opportunity that you don't get that often in life. And yeah, make the most of it while you're there.
Yeah, yeah. To add that that was gonna be my tip too. Like make the most out of the university experience. Like
Nice.
you got the opportunity to be at university, so make the most out of it. And how you make most out of it is yes, learn at the university, but use the resources at the university. It's not just your courses, but then they have like, for example, career consulting. There are resources to help you develop your resume and interviewing skills, networking skills, um, or yeah, conferences and hackathons that are very easily accessible by students. But when you're outside of the school environment, now you got to pay for these events more and more. Then on top of that, like, yeah, just like talk to your professors too, because in the future you might not be able to talk to them for free. You might actually have to pay a consulting fee to talk to these professors.
Yeah, that's how
Yeah.
consultants work.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good. Thanks, Andy, for the good discussion today. You can find Andy's links in the description. And also thank you everyone out there for watching. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Comment below on which tip you found most helpful and also other content you like to hear. If you like today's content, smash the like button and click subscribe for our next videos. We'll see you guys soon.